Hello there. Welcome. I'm going to do a thing now. My name's Dustin. Thanks for joining us. We're the Friday Night Cast. Pause for applause here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming. No, we are a group of applied and therapeutic practitioners who explore the benefits of tabletop role-playing games in our work. We're glad to have you here with us, joining us, checking us out, seeing what we do. If you're watching this on YouTube later, cool. We're glad you found us. If you're watching us live on Twitch, I'm even happier right now. Thank you for joining us. We Twitch every Friday night. I kind of do Twitch every Friday. I've been having sleeping problems, but that's a separate conversation for my therapist. But we stream live on Twitch every Friday night, playing different games and having fun with them, and then doing what we're going to do here with you tonight, which is kind of do what we're calling a debrief. We're going to talk about the characters we played. We're going to talk about what happened in some of our games. We're going to recap real quickly the games for you, and also hopefully get into some discussion around the systems and the games itself, and some of the uses that we may see for some of these games as well. So kind of very exciting for us to talk about this, kind of part of what we're all very enthusiastic about as far as tabletop role-playing games, characters, and how we can use them in therapeutic and applied work. So great to have you. We're going to kind of kick off with some of our initial stuff, and then we will get into some recaps and discussion. So Tim, you had some announcements for us?
I have an announcement for
you.
Now.
Have an announcement. Okay, great.
And I know there'll be more announcements at the end. So September 5th, this Sunday at 4:30 and 7:30 p.m. Central Time, session 2 of Punk Pride Pixies will be played. So please come join us and check that game out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think you'll have a lot of fun watching.
Wait. What's the name of the podcast that's on?
It's not on a podcast. It's on streaming.
I'm old. I call it a podcast.
So podcasts, buddy, are only audio.
I understand.
do the thing, Menachem.
Gaze of our lives.
Like dice to the dice tower. These are the gaze of our lives. Queer people playing queer games.
By the way, I just want you all to know that all I could think of was like, Julie, do the thing. We're all very excited about the Avatar Kickstarter, which just completed a little over $9.5 million.
And now I understand that. Now that I've watched the series.
There you go.
I get it, and I love it.
One of us.
So yeah, thank you, Tim. And some announcements coming at the end, so stay tuned for that. Actually going to be talking about what we're up to next here on the Twitch stream. I think we've kind of been teasing a little bit, hiding from you what games we're going to be playing next. We're excited about very excited about 2 games that we're going to be playing as well, and hopefully some surprises for you throughout it coming up. We've been looking at kind of expanding what we do a little bit here, as we've got a little bit of streaming under our proverbial belts. Now, I don't know what you put your streaming under, but we've got it under that now a little bit. We're feeling a little more confident with it. So.
I'm wearing elastic shorts.
So am I. So that's kind of weird with the belt.
I took my belt off earlier when I got home because I didn't actually need it. But, I mean, it's a fashion thing when you have a shirt tucked. But that's a different podcast.
But you're still wearing pants, even though we can't see them.
Thank you, Kayla, for keeping me on task here. That's why I keep Kayla around on a regular basis. So
you keep her around.
She keeps me focused when I start to ramble a little bit.
Shush, Scott.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Menachem, as well. And thank you to a couple of game designers we want to say as well. These 2 games that we've been playing, again, if you're just kind of checking us out, you could check out the live plays that we did of these games up on YouTube. But we've been playing Galactic 2E by Riley Ryhall, and we've had a lot of fun with that. This is a game of belonging outside belonging. Actually, both of these games are belonging outside belonging games, or no dice, no masters game, which is originally, right on cue, Menachem, which is originally a system developed by the other person I want to think, one of the other people that developed the system, Avery Alder. And Ben Rosenberg, Brom. Okay. Bomb. Thank you. I couldn't remember if it was his complete last name. Actually, I was just looking at Ben Rosenbaum's itch.io page because he has a playbook for Wanderhome. But anyway, maybe why am I looking at that? I don't know. We'll have to stay tuned for that. But yes, Dream Askew, Dream Apart. This system of belonging outside belonging, and there's been many games that have made iterations using this rule set. Galactic 2E by Riley Ryhall, and also check out, hopefully coming soon, PDFs have been released of Venture Dungeon by J Dragon and Riley Ryhall, also using the belonging outside belonging system. A game I pre-ordered a while back, and excited that the PDFs are released, and I believe physical copies are coming soon. So you can check that out also by them. And going to the other person we're thinking for this, Avery Alder, for letting us use the playtest materials for Teenage Nightmare in the stream. You see Monster Hearts there, another game by Avery Alder, which is using the Powered by the Apocalypse mechanics that many people are familiar with. The game that we played, Teenage Nightmare, is a play test of a belonging outside belonging adaptation of Monster Hearts, basically. So thanks to Avery Alder, and also thanks to Avery Alder for giving us some feedback and suggestions on the playbooks that we created, Kayla and myself, for this stream that we did of their games. So it was really cool to get some feedback and help as we were working on some of those, and we may touch on that in a little bit. So yes, big shout out to those game designers. Always want to promote the game designers who are, without them, we would not have these awesome games to play and share and use in our work. So yes, so I'm going to be quiet for a moment, if you can believe it or not, and we have a couple summaries that we're going to go over of our two games. So talking a bit about Teenage Nightmare right there, just last, why don't we kick into our brief Teenage Nightmare summary? And this is just kind of like a little bit of a teaser of everything that we went through in our games. If you want to get the full thing, again, do check out those videos. Tennille, you want to give us that? And as we said earlier, Tennille, we need your best radio announcer voice for this, please.
All right.
You put her on the spot.
Or dramatic reading. However, I'm going to leave it to your own creative license.
Or therapist voice.
Your therapeutic voice. Yeah.
Presentation voice.
Okay, nice. All right. Our story starts a year and a half ago, just before winter break. A young teenage girl with long dark. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the long one instead of the short one. Sorry about that.
Oh, that we're gonna be here for a while if you read that.
Yeah,
one.
that one's like a lot. Yeah. Okay, let me get to the short summary.
In a galaxy far, far. Oh, sorry, wrong.
Right. That I could just be talking forever, honestly. Okay. The residents of Appleseed Valley thought things got weird when high school sophomore Enid disappeared without a trace over winter break and was declared dead. Little did they know the town was built on a series of seals that held fearsome, nefarious ones at bay and plans were underway to open the seals to let demonic hordes through. Enid, now a ghost, is joined by a ragtag group of students that include a 6,000-year-old vampire, a witch with mysterious origins, a recently turned werewolf, the scion of the Serpentine Snake Clan, and the school's #1 socialite. In order to save the town from being run over by minions of the netherworlds, through their spells, wit, creativity, fangs, and pure strength, they fight the demons, saving their home, but not without intense transformation and loss. And that's all for me.
You guys got to fight minions, the purple ones or the yellow ones?
Demonic
Oh.
ones.
Demonic ones, not the fun ones. Not the fun, like, yeah, the fun, silly ones.
The ones with giant mouths in their chest and guts hanging out of their body, you know.
The fun ones.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Scott, why don't you
Okay.
give us a quick little recap on our Galactic 2E game? For those of you who don't know, and you may soon find out, think of Galactic 2E as a famous star fighting franchise
With laser swords.
with laser swords. Yeah.
With the serial numbers rubbed off.
Yeah, that.
Uh,
Which we forgot about at some point and definitely didn't rub off anymore. I also, maybe chat can give us a comparison of which radio voice they think is better after this. Not that it's
that's
a
not
competition.
fair. I know, because so now I don't want to use my
Scott
real
already
radio.
wins. No, do the best we can, Scott. It's all.
The crew of the Folly's Luck sought to deliver the princess to safety of her father's planet. The ship, badly damaged, stopped to salvage a wrecked ship on a floating asteroid, only to discover it was an old Inquisitor vessel, still protected by droids, safeguarding a dormant holocron. The crew managed to survive with souls and bodies intact and arrived at the princess planet. But they were betrayed by one of the king's staff, and the gang, the Rancor Fang, attacked the palace. The crew and princess fled the planet, only to discover Fang agents aboard their ship. They managed to fend off the invaders, but not before the ship was again damaged and forced to make emergency repairs on a mysterious planet. One of the crew was swept out of the ship by a terrible storm, fueled by the power itself. The crew debarked to save their missing members and discovered him deep within the bowels of a forgotten Inquisitor temple. The crew tried in vain to reach their comrade and instead lost another of their number as well. The two locked in combat as the others fled back to the ship. With a terrible explosion, the temple crumbled and the storm ceased. Folly's Luck and her crew, with their royal passenger, escaped with heavy hearts, still fleeing the Rancor's Fang.
Great. Thank you, Scott.
Very good.
So 2 games we enjoyed very much. We usually do a ritual here. We were discussing before stream how we can kind of check into and then check out of our discussion and our characters and everything. And I'm actually just thinking as I'm sitting here, we didn't really come to a full conclusion, but I'm going to make a little bit of a decision here because it's a live stream now and you can't stop me.
Well, you
Well,
sure?
Someone has a power complex.
the host, I am in control
Challenge
now.
accepted.
What did you say? Challenge accepted. All right.
Challenge accepted.
I
Well-
guess technically Tim has control of this meeting and he can kick me out at any moment if he wants to. So
That
Good
is
him.
true.
you
Also,
do
Kayla could just knock you off the stream if she wanted to.
Anyway.
I mean,
So
I could.
who's really in control?
I have no control in my life, actually. I feel out of control all day, every day. But again, another conversation from my therapist. So no, I was actually just thinking that perhaps we can just do just a quick introduction of who we are, since we're kind of playing outside of our game here, in case anybody's new or checking this out for the first time. Kind of who we are and what we do in our professional work. I think we did that maybe the first couple of streams that we did, but I thought this might be a new place to reintroduce that to people as well. And then if we just want to mention the characters and the playbooks that we played for those characters, so that people can get a little bit of a sense, again, in case they haven't been following everything.
Great idea.
Of what we did. And I think that's kind of a nice way to kind of check into, as I'm hearing those descriptions, I'm thinking about those characters I was playing in it. So that kind of feels, for me anyway, as a way to kind of check into those characters to, be able to discuss them a little bit. So I'll start real quick. My name's Dustin. I use he, him pronouns, and I am I currently work as a case manager in a day hospital program. I have 13, 14, so I lost track at some point, years experience working primarily with substance abuse clients, and that's been my area of focus and specialty, if you will. I've worked in inpatient residential programs, outpatient programs, a number of different things over the years. And some of my looking at games is through the lens of story and the importance of story in our lives, something I'm interested in lately. The two characters I played in our games here, I played the Queen in Teenage Nightmare, which is, we may talk about a little bit, the playtest material, but a playbook that I created specifically for our game, adapted. And then I played, so that was Alex. I played the Queen.
Hey, rich kid.
What's up? And then the other one I played is I played a 350-year-old Wookiee named Rahuko, using the
Elder.
Was it the Elder playbook? Okay, I was gonna say the Elder playbook, which was I'll have to come back. I'll have to look it up. I forget who created that, but it was part of the itch jam for Galactic 2E. That was an additionally made playbook you can find on there. So I'm going to throw it over to Tim next. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll still do our popcorn maybe.
Timothy Grant, and I am one of the co-owners of Gaming Approaches Towards Education, where we do therapeutic groups using games, board games, role-playing games. I'm also a game designer, working on a game called Venture Village with Ninth Level Games currently. A game meant to be used with therapists, educators, and their parents. I played in Galactic 2E the weird little space freak, which was a playbook that was made for Game Jam for Galactic 2E, which was a playbook that was meant to be like the comedic relief. And I'll get to more on that when we do the debrief. But for Teenage Nightmare, I played Crow Lannister, who was the witch playbook. I will pop it over to Kayla because I'm losing my voice and need some water.
Okay. All right. So my name is Kayla. She, her pronouns. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy and was practicing as a outpatient therapist for a few years, and ran a few intentional tabletop groups. I use D&D and Kids on Bikes for that. Currently, I am not practicing, and I am an assistive technology specialist. And that's been pretty fun job. I get to mess around with technology and help other people use technology to decrease barriers in their life. So it's like right up my alley. Let's see. I played Lucian Hester, the Serpentine. The Serpentine is a playbook for Monster Hearts, so I adapted that with Dustin for Teenage Nightmare. That was challenging, but a lot of fun. And then in Galactic 2E, I played Draxus Drake, the ace. So the captain of Folly's Luck.
Captain, my captain.
That's right. To Neil.
All right. Yes, my name is Tennille Evans Reno, and I work for a private psychiatric place where I just do individual therapy, couple therapy, and family therapy. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor. I've been licensed for 5 years. I also have my own private practice called Journey, where I do group therapy using role playing games for therapeutic purposes, specifically for people who are transgender to explore their identity. My favorite population. And what else? I also do a podcast called The Emotional Looking Glass, where I just talk about health and how important health is with my husband, and we have lots of fun on there. So check out The Emotional Looking Glass as well. And I play Enid, who the playbook is The Dead. First time I've played the Dead before. And then in the other game, I played Zuri. And I created a playbook that I called the Loyal Caretaker, where I just came up with stuff and then didn't end up using it, but that's all right. And I will send it to Menachem.
Good evening. My name is Menachem Cohen. I am a spiritual director, rabbi, and tabletop game designer. I also previously worked for 13 years on the streets of Chicago with LGBTQ and our homeless youth with an agency called The Night Ministry, partnering with Howard Brown Healthcare Center. Much of my work these days, I love working with seminary students and new clergy to help them build their spiritual lives. And the other main focus is I use games to help people do spiritual growth, exploration, and healing, mostly using the game Dream Chaser by Pete Petruccia of Imagining Games. You can see it behind me, I think, right here. I played in Galactic 2E, which we started using the Suede system and switched over, which I think I'll talk about a little later, that transition. I played the mechanic who was force sensitive. His name was Carl. He was 65 years old and kind of cranky and persnickety and yelled at people. And then in Teenage Nightmare, I played Chloe. He is a 6,000-year-old vampire who was in a fuck it all stage of life until things changed in the town of Appleseed Valley. And that leaves Scott.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Scott Cooper-Schmidt. I am a social worker, providing therapy at a residential treatment facility here in Chicago. And been a therapist, if we include while I was in school as an intern for 3 years. I don't know if we count that. And before that, I worked in the restaurant industry for 20 years. And I don't do anything else. That's all I have the bandwidth for. Unlike everybody else who has like all the side gigs. I just have one thing. No, Kayla has one thing.
Oh, no.
Oh, you have side gigs.
I do things. Yeah.
Kayla does a lot of things.
Kayla's
And
always
I
doing
make
something.
and I make ceramics with my free time.
Yay! And
I
you
love-
play with your cats.
You do. Hey,
I think
I
they play
envy
with
that.
me. So yeah. And I only was playing in Galactic 2E. And I was playing Roz Dashin, and I will reveal the source of his name later when we're talking. And Roz is a adolescent Twi'lek scoundrel, and so myself and the player who is absent both were using the scoundrel playbook.
Yes, I think we're missing a player. Mara's not
Yes.
here tonight, so but she has gracefully questioned. So we'll read some of her answers tonight. So she gets to still participate. Lara was playing Callie the werewolf. And what was her other
Nuxo.
Nuxo, the bounty hunter. Using the scoundrel playbook.
Yes.
That's it. Whole wheat. All right.
Yeah. So let's get into some of our discussions then, and some of the questions that we prepared that we wanted to share with y'all. So
Yes.
I don't think we really have any said rhyme or reason to this, so we can kind of pop around, freestyle a little bit, go off of one another a little bit. So our game of Galactic 2E is kind of interesting, and you may hear some of us talk about this at some point, because actually both games are kind of interesting if you think about it. One we started earlier and then had a break. But we started using the Suede system, as Menachem mentioned earlier, for our Star
Savage
Wars
Worlds.
games. The Savage Worlds system for our Star Wars game. Made characters. We were playing a bit with that, and then as we started streaming, we kind of ported those characters over and decided to switch to Riley Ryhall's Galactic 2E, as that had just been released at the time as well. The second edition of Galactic. So there was a bit of a transition there with our characters. Some of them didn't always fit there. Lara, who's not here with us tonight, actually says that she feels like she lost some of Nuxo's badassery and overconfidence when switching from the Suede system to the Galactic 2E system, but still thinks that she created an awesome story. But it was a bit of a rough transition for her. So I think some of us had a little bit of a struggle with that transition. I was kind of playing a pacifist Wookiee who didn't want to hurt people anymore. So the less mechanics worked for me. I wasn't like trying to do a lot of damage and combat. Like I wasn't really interested in that so much. So that worked for me as a player. But yeah, there was like a bit of a weird transition there for us. And then our game of Teenage Nightmare, we actually played an initial game as part of the Tag Summit earlier this year. I can't, was that back in April? Was it? I can't remember. April of 21. And that was part of to showcase for that event a panel that we did of playing together. And actually kind of part of the generations of us deciding to stream with y'all as well, and share what we're doing a little bit. But so there was like a little bit of a break there. That was still the same system. And then we kind of picked up those characters and continued to play them to their conclusion.
Excuse me.
In our last video last week. So that's kind of where we're at with those characters. Let me see, maybe I'll kind of ask some questions here, and if people want to share anything, if there's one that you want to jump in and add, or someone wants to comment, feel free. I'm just thinking maybe it would be good to have if I were able to moderate a little bit here, to kind of keep us going. I like this first one actually. Is what's one thing you plan to take with you from either of your characters from Teenage Nightmare or Galactic 2E? Is there anything that anyone really took from those characters, or has stuck with them as we've kind of had a little bit of time to reflect on some of them a little bit now.
Yeah, I'll start. So for me, with Galactic 2E, I I had realized I had fallen into a trope, a character trope that I played for a long time, which is like the comedic relief in a way, right? I'm playing the jokey character that gets by like joking around with things and at times trying to take things serious, but mostly like the characters I was playing for a while were comedic. And I've decided to try and start to stray away from that a little because I feel like I'm doing it too much. It's not helping me grow as a player or even a person running, facilitating groups, learning different types of play styles. It's not helping me by continually to play that trope. So that's one thing I took away from the Galactic 2E game. But the Teenage Nightmare game was a little different in the sense of I intentionally played a character that had a different identity than me. I played a character whose pronouns were they, them. Me, Tim used he, him, and Crow used they, them. And I feel I didn't, I don't know, there's a part of me that feels like I didn't play into that enough. I actually think I would have been better off playing the experience of transitioning my identity in the game instead of starting as my identity being they, them. Especially within my work, where I work with individuals who may be going through similar situations and with identity, and I want to be able to help them more. So a part of me feels that if I were to ever play someone that was going to have a different identity than me, then I would want to try to play that transition out.
It's interesting that you say that, actually, because in my prep work for when one of the next games that I'll be GMing, still gonna keep you teased on that a little bit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But I want you to think about that, Tim, actually, because one of my themes that I do want to try and hit on, if hopefully I'll be successful in it, but is transitions also, like what, like life transition, different life transitions and things like that as well. I think it's an interesting theme to think about as we play. So
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else on that? Anything you'll take with you from any of your characters as we played?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot playing Enid. Being like a shy, quiet character was very difficult for me because I'm not shy or quiet at all. Um, and I think what I learned a lot was being from that, or at least just my own experiences being like a shy and quiet character, was just the ability to observe and have a different perspective. Um, and I think that perspective was really helpful to the group in different ways. So that was pretty cool. That's definitely something that I'd like to hold on to. Um, with Zuri at Galactic 2E, I think I just learned a little bit about confrontation for sure. There were times when I stayed in character because I'm just like in my head, like, this is how Zuri is. She's not going to want to leave the ship. And I did feel a little bad about that. Like I was kind of like slowing things down for the plot. Unfortunately, Lara's not here, but there was like a scene that we had where the plan was for Nuxo, Lara's character, and Zuri, my character, to like get off the ship and do something. I don't think this was live streamed, actually.
No, this was when we were playing Suede.
Yeah, that was when we were playing Suede. And Zuri was just coming up with every excuse in the box to not go, not to get off the ship. And I later checked in with Lara, out of character, and said, "Hey, are you okay with this?" And she was great. She was great. So that was good because I felt like it fit like where her character was. But then there was a time that was live streamed where we were all trying to go after Roz, and Zuri was trying to stay on the ship. And I actually do know that one of the viewers kind of talked about this, because Dustin's character, Rahuko, actually picked her up, just put her in the truck, and and a viewer was like, that's kind of messed up. My thought on it was that he was being a friend. Like, he could tell she needed a push, and he was giving her the push that she needed. And so that was, I saw it as a supportive thing. And I think you just had to like see more of the story to kind of see that perspective, or at least that was just my perspective. I don't know how everyone else took that.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. I guess I didn't quite think of it that way. I've thought a lot more about like consent in our games, and consent with like characters as well, right? Like between characters, not even just like the Bonnie Cook consent in gaming and safety tools and all that, which we're very much a part of. But like, so at that moment, there was like a storm bearing down on the ship, basically, and like my good friend had been like sucked out of and was in pain, I could tell. And like, you also being my friend and somebody that I cared for, like, I was like, I'm not leaving you behind now. Also, like, we need to go. Like, things are happening, and I didn't want you left behind for something bad to happen to you as well. And that's where it was Rahuko just kind of picked you up and was just like, we're going, I got you, it's gonna be okay, let's go.
If you remember, Carl's was the one who said, Rahuko, get her, right? Because Carl was like, we don't have time for this,
Right.
We got to rescue Roz, no messing around.
It's kind of interesting to think about, right? Like, there's moments in our lives that demand action, I think, right? There's times where we don't always have, and sometimes we make the right choice and sometimes we don't, right? In those moments, or sometimes we make the best choice that we can, or that we're aware of at that time, and sometimes that can also be a mistake, and sometimes it can be a little bit of both. Was it the best thing to do without your permission?
I think it was.
Okay.
But
we had player
yeah.
consent.
Yeah,
we had player consent. And honestly, I think there was a part of Zuri that wanted that to happen. Zuri needed that push, but wasn't able to communicate the need for that. So I think it just happened naturally. If I, as a player, was not comfortable with that, I would have said something. I would have used a safety tool or something like that. Yeah, X card or whatever. But like, I was like, yeah, this needs to happen. I'm glad this is happening. So yeah. And that's me.
Yeah. Malcolm, you want to?
I have some thoughts about what I took with me. Last week's finale was kind of had an emotional wallop for a lot of us. And I remember just kind of all sitting silently for a little bit after we finished. And so I was playing Chloe. He is a 6,000-year-old vampire. And I thought, I wasn't really thinking about this when I designed him, but I realized there's a lot of loneliness to living so long when everybody around you dies, in a fraction of your life. But the Serpentine live for hundreds of years. And so Lucian's, they were non-gendered, but parental figure who gave birth to Lucian, I had known for 300 years, and I had a really good relationship. And I was also growing close to Lucian because Lucian's going to live a long time, and I felt safe, right, to do so. Chloe said, I love you, Lucian. And I thought, I was reflecting that during the week, that maybe it wasn't romantic love so much as it was just like deep, intimate connection that was growing because of the safety that was there. But when Lucian died, and Naruto betrayed me and essentially Lucian in the end, I really felt that emptiness and that sense, because friendship is hard for a lot of us. For a lot of people, I've been reading more about it recently, and I have my own difficulties of friends. Keeping friends for 20 or 30 years is really hard, and keeping friends for 5 years is really hard. And I've got a bunch of serial friends, so it just kind of really sunk into the idea of what it means to be lonely, what it means to try and connect with people and make these things, and loss. So I'm still kind of processing that. With Carl, he was 65 years old, and 60 years ago had been a youngling for several months and was removed from the youngling program without explanation. And his great, 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 great grandmother was a famous and well-known Jedi. And he ended up kind of resentful and spending his life not accessing any of his force sensitivity. And I realized I joked earlier that I'm old, I don't understand things. I'm not really that old, but I'm the oldest in this group by several years. And so I like to say in my life, I'm not young, but I'm not old either. I'm just not young anymore. But I've also started like a whole new branch of work in the last 5 or 6 years. And so I'm playing Carl was kind of like a character about manifesting, my process of manifesting later in life, going through a transition, because by the end of the game, he manifested his powers. And both of them were kind of cranky, and it was fun to play a cranky character, cranky, sarcastic, kind of even mean sometimes characters, because I don't live like that in my life, and it's fun to let it out.
Yeah, I want to piggyback for one of my characters off of what you're saying there a little bit as well, Benakam. Myself turning 40 this year, going through some life transitions of my own. I played Rahuko, a 350-year-old Wookiee who has been through a few, as a Jedi, then as a rebel, fighting in the wars as a rebel, giving up his force powers to later kind of refine them with Roz. And that story not quite ending how I thought it would, but I'm still I'm happy with that ending. But the loss of him as well, Rahuko, for me, kind of stuck with me, right? But the loss being in a way to care for somebody as well, to help them. But yeah, for me, kind of playing with that transition, like what is that like later phase of life look like, perhaps, like whether it's spiritual growth in some ways, or maybe really trying to find like your true self of who you are, or like I really played with the idea with Rahuko of how do you help people without hurting them also, right? How do you help people without violence? His way of helping, being trained as a Jedi, and then with the rebels and everything, I kind of looked at it very much of, violence was involved with it. I mean, you can kill someone pretty easily with a lightsaber if you need to, so sorry, space laser swords. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting playing that for me. I think of the two characters, and I'll save discussing my other character a little bit, but of the two characters, I think that was the one where I did probably the most searching in relating to and trying to figure out the meaning for myself. Kayla keeps telling me, like, as we're playing, like, you're really going through, or you're doing something with these characters. I don't know what, dude, but you're doing something with these characters. There's something going on here for you. And I think, especially for Rahuko anyway, it's about that kind of transition, a bit of like really trying to figure out, who we are as beings spiritually, to other people, all of those things. So it's kind of interesting to think about that while playing the character. but that's something I'll take with me is continuing to kind of reflect on that a bit. Kayla, Scott, anything for the two of you from your two characters that you want to share with us here?
I am gonna pass because I'd like to
Sure.
also delve into other questions.
Yeah.
But Scott can answer.
I will also pass, mostly because I'm struggling to really decide if there's something that I want to take from this character.
Let me just add for Lara, since she's not here, but Lara said both of her characters, Nuxo and Callie, meant to be more action-oriented characters with more confidence than Lara has. So she said that's something she'd like to take with her, is some of that being more action-oriented and kind of springing in to action on things. So it's kind of interesting, like some of these characters, how we can build traits that maybe we want to work on ourselves with and have the characters just be able to do them. Scott, you said you're looking at trying to find if there's anything that you want to take. Was there like any challenging parts with playing your character, or?
Yeah, so and this will play into some questions later, but you know, I transitioned jobs while we were playing this game, and I went from providing individual therapy to a broad range of youth and adults to just providing their in program therapy in a residential treatment facility to, you know, adolescents, 12 to 18-year-olds. 11 to 18-year-olds, so pre-adolescent. Anyways, so, you know, I found that I like Tim was playing like the same kind of character I usually play, this kind of like obnoxious, fast talking, thoughtless character, because that's it's so easy for me to like step into that role of the social pariah, because of how I identified as a kid when I started playing games. But then also I found that I was like over identifying with clients at work and then coming home and playing a character where I was reenacting my clients' struggles. And so I wasn't giving myself any distance from work when we were playing. And so I'd love to say like, oh, I got insight into my clients, but I don't know that I did. I think that I just brought work home with me. And it wasn't a healthy choice. So that was the challenging part, is I think I should have been more intentional. Also, Kayla, are you going to share your water? Just I'm asking for a friend. I think that was the most challenging part, was not being intentional in the decisions that I made, because you know this character was a little bit it was just like a fun escape previously when we were playing Suede, and it was a little bit less on the nose with a broader client range. But
was all that you just said part of your decision to how you ended with this character?
Absolutely. I just needed to put it down very intentionally. You know, so that you know, like that ending, that very you know, he you know, completely implodes, becomes completely self-destructed, gives in to like his worst demons, his worst urges, right? Like the thing that I hope to prevent through my work. And you know, like that moment where he looks at Rahuko and says like, how could you leave me? And he's not even talking to Rahuko, you know, he's just completely projecting. And how many times am I at work and the kids are projecting and they're like, fuck you, man. And like, you're not talking to me. You're talking to some figure from from earlier. And Rahuko is responsive. I love you, and it's just so on the nose of like the work that we like you were very much playing the therapist to the troubled youth with that choice, Dustin.
And I wasn't intending to. It was like the way I saw it for Rahuko was like he cared about you. He had made a decision. It was funny because like I don't know if we shared it on stream, but like Scott and I talked before that last session of Galactic, and I was like, I think like I was trying to figure out Rahuko's story and like what happens to him, like because Rahuko like joined this crew, like just like was a stray that wandered onto this ship, and like he was gonna wander off at some point, and I was like, I think Rahuko stays on this planet. He did. That wasn't it.
That was not what we had planned when we had that conversation. Neither of us had that in mind.
Yeah, I was like, maybe Roz and I just stay on this planet and we train, and I'm gonna devote everything I can to helping this kid figure stuff out, for myself, for him, for the betterness of the galaxy at the whole, because it's a spiritual process, because the Force, all of these things. I think I still got that with the resolution that we got, right? I still devoted myself to you and taking care of you. And who knows what, Force ghosts and stuff, right? I mean, like the spiritual aspect of the Force and everything too. So I'm while it was not what I expected, I'm okay with how that story ended,
It had a very Empire feeling of like
I was
the best we could, the best the best the main characters could do is get away.
Yeah. I was very frustrated with you at one point because I was like, he is not giving me an opportunity to help him at all, and like get out of this and like get him to see, like, let go of the dark side. And I was like, well, I guess the only thing is for me to let you know that I still love you, like, or that I still care about you, even if this is who you are now, so I guess it is kind of a therapist move in some ways, but yeah, wasn't what I was intending. Maybe it's part of that bleed, it's part of that. It's what we do. So, it comes out. Anyone else have any other challenging moments though?
I do. I don't want to take too long on this, but I kind of want to touch on it because I did have challenges. In Teenage Nightmare, I kind of discussed like my character that I played, but I had trouble in a way also playing the character that killed off Lucian. I was struggling with that, and mostly because me and Kayla, I don't want to speak for you too much, Kayla, but going back and forth with Kayla about whether Kayla wanted to kill off her character, and I had to keep checking in because I felt like I feel like I have too much agency here, and Alvar, your character, and I have to check in with you, and that was kind of hard for me. But I respect that you trusted me to do it for you, and respect that you respected that I would do it respectfully in a way, without making it too I don't know, it's wrong.
I think it worked out perfectly. It was somehow we got a pretty fantastic scene out of it. So
yeah,
I didn't know what it was going to look like, but it worked.
For Galactic 2E, my troubles came in the form of, originally I was running Savage Worlds, so I was the GM. So I'm sitting in a way as how some people can see it as an adversary role, right? And now I'm stepping into the group, and I was already kind of role playing one of the characters that continued in the other game, which was the princess. And everyone was like, "Are you going to play as the princess?" And I didn't know, because in my head, which I don't think I've told everyone this, but in my head, the princess was going to end up like doing some pretty horrible stuff in the story. And I didn't want to play that. So in my head, that character was this way. So I didn't want to continue down that path.
That would have been so cool. I would have loved
Yeah.
to see that happen.
Yeah.
She's gonna have a
but-
whole like dark side moment.
Yeah. So there was a lot of things that I
Instead,
had
Roz
planned.
did it, I guess, huh?
You
Yeah,
did NPC her a few times though,
I did. Yeah, I did.
which is
And
interesting.
I felt like I felt like I needed to at times, mostly because I did play that character and everyone felt comfortable with the way the character was. So I continued down that path for the character.
I'm glad we had the love story there.
Yeah. It was still a love
It was-
story. Even in my idea of the princess going down this
Happily ever
dark
after
path.
love story.
Yeah, that's a different story.
That's
than I
not
had.
where Tim was going.
Yeah. But yeah, those were my struggles and my challenges with playing.
I think my only challenge with playing Enid was just that her personality was completely opposite of me. So I really had to like act like so much. I really had to act. I really had to like get myself into her character like every time. Like I have this background here because it helps me.
It reminds you.
It reminds me. It helps me. It reminds me like you're shy, you're quiet, you talk soft. Okay. Like I just had to keep like I wrote it down and sometimes I just read it over and over and just kind of remind myself because I don't usually play characters
So,
like that. So that
did
was
you-
the main challenge for me.
Did you have to like do a mantra so you could get into character?
Yeah, it kind of was like a mantra and like I just like remember the things that she liked, like just drawing and just being quiet and stuff. And it's just so weird because I mean, not to say that I'm not creative, like I like to write, but I'm not much of a type of person who draws. And when it comes to math skills, I'm just average. So like, but Enid was like amazing with math skills. So I would like imagine, okay, my dad's a librarian, my mom's an accountant. They're both introverts. They're both very quiet. I come to a quiet house every day. Everything is, they don't like a lot of noise. And I just keep that in my head so that I could stay in character. But you know, the last session I think was a lot easier. So I think I had practiced it enough that I had been able to get into it. But Enid's still not quite a great fit for me, but it was fun to try her on.
Yeah, I'm gonna just going off of that a little bit. Also, me also playing like the opposite of myself. At least you know the goal of playing Alex, the Queen in particular, playbook and adapting that was to play something that was the complete opposite. Yeah, that was a bit of a challenge for me. I couldn't quite figure out how to play that character exactly. So yeah, it was kind of interesting to play
It
along
was
with it.
fun to see you trying with the phone because you're not really that into your phone.
Yeah, I don't do social media at all, really. Like I am not a social media guy. So like Laura was my kind of TikTok connection to make sure I got it right. So any other challenges that anyone had that they wanted to share before I move on to like the next
Well,
thing?
I wanted to speak to the change from Suede to belonging outside belonging.
Sure.
Like Suede, it was my first time playing Savage Worlds, and it's compared to Galactic 2E, Belonging Outside Belonging, it's really crunchy and really action oriented.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a lot of role play, but you know, Belonging Outside Belonging is focused on the role play and the character development. So and it was kind of hard to make the switch from like this action oriented character with lots of skills and abilities that you make checks on all the time
Mhm.
and clear definitions of things. And I love Belonging Outside Belonging, but it was a hard change for me to make and to figure out how to play the character as someone who's going to discover their power.
It's funny, like real quick on that. For me, like running Savage Worlds, I've ran Savage Worlds in the past, and everything moves quick because it's all very pulpy and high action type of stuff. But you guys definitely dug into the like role play real heavy, and we had a whole session where we didn't roll once. I just sat back and let you guys go. And it was a nice change to see that happen. And I didn't feel as hard of a shift for myself, mostly because I guess I wasn't a player. I was the GM, but it's weird because I saw a different perspective of it.
I didn't really feel much of a challenge in switching from Suede to Galactic because my character was so focused on staying in the ship and not using his skills anyway. So
I guess
I could
yeah.
but I could feel it in the group. I could feel that challenge in the group. Like the energy was there. And I hope that I feel like we just did our best to get through that challenge and get past the hump of it.
I was so excited to switch because and when we get to I love the belonging outside belonging game style. I think it leads into our next question too of like favorite memorable moments from the game. And I think when it's so, for me, storytelling is always those fun moments, and I play a lot of D&D 5e where like for a lot of folks, like that favorite moment is that great dice roll where they get that final hit on the boss baddie, and it's like like my favorite moment is a cool story where something intense happens, something good, something bad, like Tim, your character's entry into the game when you uttered your first words. It was just such a profound moment. You just like kind of look up and down like, hey, how's it going? I'm just like, what the? Like so Jersey.
I'm from Jersey. What do you expect?
Were you playing the Jersey Devil? Was that what was happening?
You sounded like a little old guy from Jersey. It was just beautiful. I just love that moment.
Any other favorite moments? I do want to touch on. I don't want to like replay all the scenes and everything.
My absolute favorite moment of Teenage Nightmare was our last game, and it's mostly because we all like had really great moments in that game. We all were really on point with like collaborating with each other and really gelled really well, and we told some I think some really good stories. And I think the relationship work between the families was really well throughout the game.
My favorite moment was like in Teenage Nightmare, there was like this conflict between Crow and Alexander Price III, and Enid was like trying to bring peace to it so that the whole group could work together. And then Crow has this insane idea: Enid, possess my body. Yeah. And Enid's like, I'm not sure. But then Chloe's like, do it. And so she does it. And then she forces Crow to apologize to Alex and shake his hands. It was the best scene, like my favorite moment ever, because I could tell Tim did not know I was going to do that.
Not at all.
Touche.
It was good because I do trust all of you a lot, and I know that we're not going to do anything to try to harm each other in the game. So like just watching someone take control of my character like that and allowing that is such a weird, freeing thing to let happen,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I want to come back to that trust and I want to hold on to, I'm actually partially saying this so I remember it in a moment as we move on to some other questions. But I think there's a lot of trust with us playing and playing for a while together, and as professionals together is kind of interesting. And we'll come back to that in a minute. But for me, I have like kind of two favorite moments that like I'll probably remember from these games when I think back on them. One is the bathtub scene. And Kayla playing like my best friend, just like climbing into the bathtub and comforting me in a moment of extreme grief. As in the Teenage Nightmare game with Alex. The end of that game was kind of emotional too. Like when we finished that particular session, we all stayed on the Zoom call for a little while and just kind of like, how's everyone doing? You know, and is interesting because that's partially like part of the reason why I'm going to remember it is, you know, processing my own grief actually as well. The other thing is Scott playing Yoda, and just going with it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You're welcome for that.
I forgot about that.
I
totally
kind of
forgot
played
about
with
that.
this idea that Rahuko was with Yoda when Order 66. He was one of the Wookiees with Yoda when Order 66 was given. So, and we split, and that was the last time. And kind of like feeling like a failure that I couldn't do anything in that moment, like I was powerless, right? So for like to play with that Yoda, and also when I was like, I think I handed Carl, was it Carl that I give you like the walking stick at one
Yeah.
point at the end, because I had this like
Yeah.
memento from like somebody I failed or something like
It
that,
was
which was
Yoda's
on my
walking
playbook, and I
stick.
was like, oh, I'm pulling this out right now. And then like it took Scott a minute, and he was like, oh, I know what that is. And I was just
Yeah.
like, great.
Yeah,
That was
And
a lot of fun.
yeah, and Menachem planned it. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, those are fun moments.
In Teenage Nightmare, my thing was a player moment that unfolded when we first faced the demons. Like, if we were still playing, if we were playing Suede or another or D&D, that would have been like just a knockout, drag down combat scene,
That would have
right?
been 3 sessions.
Right. That would have been a lot of play. But when we as a group figured out what they were doing was psychologically challenging us by making those flashbacks happen, that we worked that out in the belonging outside belonging way as a group, each pitching in, well, oh, this is what's happening. What if they're doing this? And we figured out they were trying to weaken us emotionally and psychologically. That was just a beautiful example of how belonging outside belonging games can work and how a group can really work together and gel together.
Problem solved together.
Yeah.
But come up with the narrative that way, that this
Yeah.
is what's happening. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm. I think my favorite moment I think so I also really liked the bathroom scene. It's also Lara's favorite scene and moment. I don't know really how we got there, but we got there and it was really great. And I also was super excited that Lara finally took the turn someone on by working up a sweat move.
I wondered when it was going to happen.
I didn't know it was going to be Cass, but I think that worked out really well with how I somehow managed to like put little things in Dustin's like flashback. In Alex's flashback, Cass basically talked about Callie, and then like it kind of came full circle. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I mean, you kind of,
I love it when that happens. I love it.
Yeah.
and we kind of set it up from the beginning that like you and or Cass and why can't I think Callie?
We're friends.
Yeah, that they were
Yeah.
friends, like they were good friends to begin with.
Mhm.
So it was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And Teenage Night, and then Galactic TV. I think the whole entire last game was really great. And just Draxus's like unwillingness to like continue to put themselves at risk for other people. I think was probably just in general like the whole entire last game was great.
I agree 100% with you because I think all of our characters came into their own in that last session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I think
interesting
so.
because like that last session for me, like I kind of was like GMing, and it was so much fun to watch each of you making these choices. And I didn't have to make any character choices.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
You definitely made some character choices.
You sure did.
Oh yeah, you did.
At the
Some really
end.
hard ones.
You tried to blow us all up at the
I
end.
mean, you took off your hand.
Yeah.
You tried to make me a Sith apprentice.
You did.
That is true. That is true.
That wasn't a character choice.
You cut someone. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, some
Man.
good moments.
So do it, Dustin. Do it.
What am I doing?
Oh wait, you gotta
Next
hear
question.
Lara's?
Next question. Okay.
Wait, no, hold on. Lara's. I wanna
Oh,
Lara's most memorable moment was the bathtub scene with Cass and Alex.
Yeah.
And then being able to blow stuff up with Nuxo.
Yeah, there was that one time when Lara's character, when Nuxa just like kept like shooting everything and blowing
I
it
tell
Exploding
you,
dice.
oh,
Yeah,
oh my
my-
goodness. When we were playing Suede, Nuxo
Every
was
time.
just
It's the exploding
blowing
dice.
up the dice
Yeah.
and exploding like all the time. Like it was just like she blew up ships, and I mean it was crazy.
She still,
There
I
is-
mean, she still got to blow some stuff up with belonging
she did.
outside belonging. She did. It was just, it looked different.
That's true.
Real quick before we step away from this, one other moment that really was big was when Rahuko used the Force for the first time
Mm.
and changed the minds of
Oh, the
Stormtrooper guys.
stormtroopers. Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
big moment.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was before.
Yeah, that
also,
was in
right?
Suede,
before-
yeah.
that was when
Oh,
we were on
that's right. That
Suede
was
still,
in
yeah.
Suede. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah, I had a really good role with the in the Savage Worlds game, and just like totally Jedi mind trick these, and that actually changed my character, I think, because as we moved to the new system, that allowed me, like, that opened up me being able to use the Force more,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's kind of interesting.
It was a key relationship development time between the three force sensitive characters.
Yeah.
Raz, Carl, and Rahuko.
That mind meld moment too, that I
Yeah.
think Carl and Rahuko had, and then Scott, your character Raz, coming into that at one point too. There was like a number of reveals I think we had, Menachem, you and I had, between our characters, and that was kind of interesting too. I remember, like, I'd forgotten about that, but I'm remembering it now, and that was a really interesting moment. So I want to jump onto some of these questions about playing as professionals and playing together as professionals. And feel free to jump around if you want to answer any of those. We have a few different questions already pre-done here, but and I think some of them kind of play into each other a little bit, so feel free to jump around on that. But I'm just kind of thinking about this question of how has playing with other professionals impacted the way that you play. And I gotta say, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, for me, the trust that I have with this group, we've been playing a year and a half now, going on 2 years almost now at some point. For some of us that I think did original Kids on Bikes.
I mean, we started originally with Teenage Nightmare.
Right. That's correct. So
Yeah.
interesting. But it's really allowed me to make choices and then just be like, you know what, somebody else is going to make choices with their character that's going to interact with my character, and it'll either be what I'm thinking and it'll go, or it won't. And like I said, some of those favorite moments that I had where I was only half of the equation in that, right? The other player, for Kayla, for you to play Cass in that scene and for it to be a very touching moment, that's what really made it for me, right? And being able to play with y'all as professionals and knowing that it's going to be safe, that everyone's very respectful of the lines and veils and safety tools that we use in this game, and I don't really have to worry about them. They're still there if I need them, right? But I know I can kind of step into this safe space, playing with everyone here, and yeah, I think it's impact, and it's allowed me to do some of that, again, talking about that grief. And again, we talked off camera a little bit about it. We had to be able to have that conversation after the game with you all as professionals as well. I mean, I think it was very helpful for me at that time. I think that's what I needed at that time. So, I don't know that I would do that with sure as heck would not do that at a con game, right? Um, and I don't even know, like maybe with my home group, who like kind of are all family members with me, but um, even with like other friends, maybe not so much. I may not delve into that stuff so much. So it
It's
allows me to be a little more vulnerable, and I
it,
love that with playing with you all.
it's interesting you say that because uh, I think that I never had this level of trust in my home group. And we played together for decades. And I think it was to a great degree like there was a level of unresolved conflict that existed among us because we started playing when we were young and we were much different people then, and so I think there was never a point where I doubted if there was conflict, there would be appropriate resolution, and any discomfort would get addressed correctly. Um, and so I always felt safe.
I've told you guys before, this is my home group.
Oh.
Which is ironic because I've played games in your home.
One of these days we'll get to play in person.
Yeah, one of these days.
I think there's this really great opportunity when you play with other professionals or other people using games intentionally, that there's always this like layer of like meaningful decisions like don't just get left as what they are. Like there's a discussion about it because we recognize, not that people can't recognize meaningful moments, but there's this, we all in our work have this like, what we do is seek out those meaningful moments and seek out to like further extrapolate what is underneath those meaningful moments.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think in general, like the careers that we're all in are all rather respectful of boundaries, right? Which builds the trust, right? Like we all understand each other's boundaries, and if somebody states they have a boundary, like we respect that, which then just builds on everybody's feelings of trust, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like those intentional moments are picked up by the other players. I think being as professionals, I think y'all see that easier than maybe other people I would play with. Be like, oh, going back to what Kayla was saying to me at different points off stream, being like, you're going through something here, aren't you? Like, and I'm like, I don't know, am I? And you're like, yeah, you need to check that out. Right?
Yeah.
And like other people I play with would not tell me that, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, let me think about this. Let me delve more into this character. How would this affect choices that my character is going to make? And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to throw some of these things out there and then see what happens. And somebody, that's how we get some of those moments we were talking about. Is other people pick them up and go with them also.
Yeah. And I've had a number of D&D groups, but for me, it's really important for me to like get into my character because that helps with the immersion. That helps me to really visualize everything and really get into the game, the story. And I don't know about everyone else's experience, but other people who are not professionals, they don't really role play. They say what they're going to do. They don't usually get into it. They don't really like try to stay in character. And I feel like most of us like work towards staying in character. There have definitely been times when I've come across situations where what my character would do goes against what the group wants. And with my friends, I'm just going to do what the group wants, even though it doesn't, 100% aligned with my character. But here I can feel comfort and saying, I'm just going to do what my character's doing. I know you guys have a different goal, and that's okay, but I'm still going to do what my character's going to do. And there's respect there, and I really appreciate that, because I definitely have heard kickback from other places of where I want to stay in my character role, and other people just like, yeah, but we're gonna go fight the monster, we're gonna we're gonna do this thing, like, because they're, what they find and what they enjoy is a lot different. It's not about finding the meaning, the symbolism, the psychology, the emotion. And I love to dig into the emotion, and being in this group allows me to like just freely do that and like really explore those different parts of myself that I'm looking to explore.
Scott, you were gonna say something also. Going into the like leaving those moments and allowing other people to pick 'em
both
up.
of you kind of echoed each other in the sense that you're talking about like being willing to make choices that you wouldn't have made otherwise, take risks that you wouldn't have taken. Can I be tech speaky for a second?
Sure.
So, like to me, theory driven, sorry, Menachem, theory driven, benefits from using this stuff is using tabletop role-playing games is the idea of the therapeutic avatar from dramatic therapy, of being able to like have enough distance from what's happening in the action that you're willing to experiment. And that's what you're both talking about. And I think that's huge. I think that's like when we're using these games intentionally in treatment, like that's when I want to use these games intentionally in treatment, that's my goal, is to provide space for the clients, the kiddos to do that.
Right. In many ways, I would say Enid was depression. And in many ways, I would say Zuri was PTSD.
Yeah.
And I got to play that in a safe
Mm.
environment. Like that's huge. The impact of that is huge.
Yeah. I could go out of the ship, or I could stay here and clean and then make cookies.
I did love your cookies.
Thank you.
See, it's funny for me when I play characters, I try and see, I think we joked about it somewhere. I don't remember if we were talking about it on a stream, but like I can be very min-maxy when I play D&D. I think we were just having Kayla was like, "You're a min-max monkey, aren't you?" It's like, yeah. Unfortunately, but I try and bring these characters, and like I was the last one to make the Galactic 2. Well, when we were playing on Suede, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm probably like, I don't know a ton about Star Wars, like races and everything. I'm just gonna see, and I made this character that I really enjoyed playing. I was more intentional in the Teenage Nightmare game, but yeah, I try and like leave the characters blank and just let them fill in, and when I do that, I find that you can't help but put pieces of yourself into those characters, and because we play what we know, we can experiment with other things, talking about the therapeutic avatar, right? And allow those spaces for ourselves, but we also play what we know, and it's our experience, right? It's our perception, it's what we know. We almost can't not do that.
Well, and we're talking about playing, and I'm just curious to flip it around briefly, like from a facilitation standpoint. Tim, you facilitated Suede. I got to kind of facilitate one adventure of Galactic 2E, and Dustin, you facilitated
Not there yet.
We're going to be facilitating. We're going to be GMing
Justin will be DMing at some point.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
we're
I
not
mean,
there
I
yet,
didn't
but
facilitate. You
I
didn't
have
facilitate
for this group also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess, it's just interesting, like, at least for me, like facilitating that one adventure, like I felt much more comfortable, like pushing you guys to, y'all to like a dark place, and setting up these like moments of emotional intensity with the sense that like you would either lean into it or back off it in a very clear way. So I wouldn't have to guess if it was okay. I don't know, Tim, if that was your kind of experience in Suede.
Well, I've been running role-playing games for
27 years.
27 years.
How many games are you running at work a week now for clients?
About
Like
8
one
or
a week
9.
now. Yes.
It's 8 or 9.
Wicked. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sounds nice.
Sometimes twice a day, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of characters and a lot of emotions and a lot of things to deal with, a lot of different things that we're dealing with as a group. So I have a lot of experience working as a group facilitator just within the last 3 years alone because of the amount of groups that I do run. I co-facilitate, which does make things a little easier. And it's interesting because I feel like I'm co-facilitating with all of you because I co-facilitate at work with another professional who is a player in the group as a guide. So it's interesting to play a game with all professionals to see how intentional it becomes and things that you can explore because of that.
It definitely makes the my old home group playing 4 hours of D&D 5e at a go kind of feel a little lackluster in comparison, just in terms of like the storytelling experience.
And that could be fair. I mean, I've played years and years of all different types of games and have different experiences with different groups. And it's usually a different experience because it's intended to be a different experience, you know?
Yeah. I had a follow-up on that, and then I lost it. I was just enjoying what you were saying.
I went
no,
off
but
for a minute.
it's interesting to me playing these games with you, and we leave ourselves some space to chat afterwards too. So like we do a little bit of a checkout on our stream, but we also do that together as well. If anybody needs space, we stay on and chat with each other. And yeah, I think that's great having that to do that with you. What I was going to say is that, I think working with clients using these tools, working with clients, the role-playing games, getting a chance to play and explore some of those things myself makes me better at running those games as well for people,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think that's extremely important. And, I think a great reason to play with other professionals. And it's actually something that, not to leave Laura, to bring Laura into this conversation also, who's not here with us, but, she said it, answering one of these questions about playing with other professional groups is it's definitely made Laura reflect on decisions that she's made more, and to consider why I play the things the way that I do as well, right? So again, I think that puts it very, very well, some of the importance of playing with professionals. So I want to
just want to touch on one thing.
Sure, and then
what
we'll
I
move on.
learned from working with all of you is really it changes the way you look at how
into my iPad. It's a little iffy, but you can take it.
You learn how to.
We need to get a wireless charger.
Yeah, I do.
We should get one because Mom needs it too.
Hang on,
Malcolm, would you like to mute yourself?
You're not on mute.
Sorry, I thought I hit mute. My bad.
It's okay.
That's all right.
What I learned was being more intentional in the way I run my games, and especially therapeutically, working on certain social skills and how to work on some of those. Working with professionals in a safe manner has helped me be a better therapeutic GM. So thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
All right. The bill's in the mail.
What'd you say?
I said the bill's in the mail.
The bill's in the mail. So if anybody who's watching this on Twitch live right now has any questions for us, throw those into chat. We'll leave a few minutes to answer those for you as well. I think somebody threw that into the chat already to mention that, but just throwing it out there. If you have any questions for us at all, questions about any of our games that we've played here so far between these two. But let's talk about the uses of these games.
Yeah.
And I guess we can overall talk about the belonging outside belonging system as well, and what we think maybe some of the strengths are using this in sessions. Now, Tim, I know Teenage Nightmare has become a game that's been started to use in your guys' practice over there. Which I think is interesting, but I'm curious what other people think. To me, belonging outside belonging can be a little tricky to pick up. It's almost, I don't want to say an advanced game, but you have to have a group that's willing to delve into the storytelling and role playing, right?
So one first thing I would like to touch on that is that you're absolutely right on that. We work with a very diverse types of population who some cognitively may not be ready to play a game like this. And we need to make sure that we have the right group, the right age group as well. Because this is a game that may deal with sexual situations. We work with youth at times, and we always check in with families and make sure, like, is this appropriate for your family, for us to run this type of game? And these are the themes that could come up in the game. And these are some of the other games that these designers have made, which your children may be led to. I think that's also another important thing that we need to think about in our work, because we have to think about the designers and what they're designing besides the one game we're using, because it could lead to things that could be unsafe for those individuals. And we need to be very mindful of that.
I never would have considered that. I see. It's so interesting because, like, Dustin's point, where I thought you were going with this, was the different cognitive levels. I can't help but think of these ideas of developmental stages of play and how they align with developmental stages of cognition, and the idea of having, we get more concrete in the type of games we play as we get older, which is why sports become such a big thing when you're an adolescent, because the rules are concrete.
Yeah.
And this kind of imaginative play is to many seems very childlike, because imaginative play is a pretty early developmental stage style of play. When you add all the rules to it, right, that changes it. So that's games like D&D. But then what's belonging outside of belonging does is I feel like it strips a lot of those rules back, but then requires such a high level of social functioning that that it's so much more nuanced that it requires a more advanced level of cognitive functioning, a more advanced level of social functioning to be able to hand off who's in charge.
Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility in that, a lot of power in that too. There's a lot of things about identity in that too, like in that game, like Teenage Nightmare, with like things like the werewolf, right? Transforming into a more powerful self. And what does that mean for an individual? It may look completely different to two different people.
Yeah, I've been thinking a little bit, and I hope it's okay for me to be transparent, but I've been thinking a little bit about what belonging outside of belonging games were before we were live streaming, and kind of how they've been now. And I think, like, when the cameras are gone, we as a group have been able to slowly develop a story that kind of comes together over time, and there's little bits and pieces that come together, and there's so much that we have no idea where it's going to go. It's like we're paving this path in the dark, and then things just light up as we see them, and as things come to our minds. But for the live stream, and specifically for the panel that we did for tags, we wanted to make sure, we wanted to be much more intentional, and we had beats set. And I think in many ways, the beats help to give some structure so that you're not just like, kind of like, oh, where are we going to go? What's it going to look like? And in many ways, that's helpful. But, you know, in some ways, that can also be restrictive.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Well,
agree
it's,
100%.
it's interesting if you're using these games like, I mean, say you have a closed group, right? I mean, you've got 8 sessions with a group of 5 people, you know. Yeah, you don't have time for that kind of meandering stuff, right? You maybe need to be a little more succinct with it. I found trying to play, like, for newer role players in some groups that I've run, they have a really hard time when it's not a very clear direction of like what to do next. You know,
Monsters are that way, and you roll this die to hit them.
Yep.
So
It's like,
I will
yeah.
say to talk on that a little bit. I use Teenage Nightmare in groups, and I took something from what's the name of the other game
Monster Hearts.
with the space station?
Oh,
Galactic
Orbital.
no, Orbital.
Orbital.
So
Oh,
Orbital is another
The scene setting. Did you
yeah,
take
the scene setting. I used the scene
Yeah.
setting for Teenage Nightmare to try to structure it a little
Yeah.
bit. So
Oh.
like we use it.
Right.
Are we going to have a discussion? So are the concerned parents going to
Yeah.
have a discussion
Right.
outside of our characters? Are we going to have a major scene where you want to see
that's
something
useful.
play out?
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
I also used a minor scene. I'm just going to narrate. I'm just going to go home and go to school and read the Necronomicon, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's useful. And
Yeah, it
I
adds
mean,
structure.
Teenage Nightmare is just a playtest. Like, this is
Yeah.
not released to the public. Like, Avery was kind enough to like agree to let us live stream it for tags, and we only played it because Dustin was like a Patreon or Goblin supporter and got the access to it. So that's the only reason we even have access to it. So I mean, it's relatively fleshed out, but there are, like, just to put it at a table with people who maybe have never played many role-playing games, you're gonna need additional things, which is why, I mean, not every Belonging Outside Belonging game is made equal, right? Like, some have less rules, some have more rules. Orbital, I would say, is like in the middle, whereas like Sleepaway has a ton of components to it that really fleshes out player choice, right? And options.
And even like a 3-act structure, and
Right.
like
Yeah.
like a deck that's going
That's
to
right.
continue the
Yep.
resolution to going, and at a certain point, like, you're going to move
Yep.
into the next act of play, and things
Yeah.
are going to ramp up. Yeah.
Our traveling home by Ash Kreider
Yeah.
is even more structured.
It is. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh.
And there was a
Haven't looked
game
at
that Menachem and I played with a group of his peers that had
Dream
that
is
one.
you. Dream
that
is
one
art.
that one, like, I was confused when we started playing because I thought it was going to have similar rules, because Menachem said, oh, it's the same system, you're going to be fine. And I'm like, oh, cool, I know this. And I was like, all right, so what kind of scene, where in my character sheet do I look for, like, what scene types I can use, because it would, like, you'd invite a certain number, it would go around the table very intentionally, and you would pick, like, the scene and which characters are going to be in it. And
Yeah.
like, there was a moment when I wanted to do an interlude in our game where I was like, this is a space opera, we need to feature the villains
Yeah.
in their own scene, and
Yeah.
but there was, like, no mechanic to do that other than just to ask the group's consent.
Yeah, I think both of these Belong Outside Belonging games are, I think, on like the one end of like this is like not as much rules, or is not as much, there's a lot more open ways to play it. Whereas not, I mean, they're not. So I think they're early iterations of those games.
I would.
Yeah, I mean, for application, I really think you need to look at your target audience, at whoever's going to be playing, to figure out if they're younger, maybe they need more structure. If they're older, maybe they would like more flexibility. But then for someone who's completely new to it, honestly, I think Orbital is a really good one to start because it really gives you like that structure and tells you exactly what you need to do. And then you get more used to it. Because I don't think like GM-less games are as popular, as well known as other games.
Yeah.
But first,
I
you
would
should probably
also-
play them.
Yes.
Yourself.
Yes.
Yep.
So
I would also add the consideration. I'm sorry. I would also add the consideration that like the maturity of the group that you have, right? Like you have a
Yes.
closed group that meets for 8-week sessions, and this group has now been meeting regularly. Like this is your 4th or 5th iteration, and maybe a couple members have changed, but it's been a consistent core group. You and the group's really experienced cohesion. What's the verb of that?
Cohese works.
Cohesive.
The group is cohesive, right? They could take on a greater challenge like this that pushes their
Creativity.
yeah. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because Laura's posting in stream chat. She says hi.
Hi.
Hi, we miss you too. But yeah, just if the group's more cohesive and more mature, and they're in that performing phase of group development, then yeah, get weird, challenge them, use this game. But if they're just in their forming stage and this is a game you pick, they probably won't have enough trust developed to be able to do this effectively.
I will say this too, and you make a very good point about trust there, because there has to be enough trust in a game like this to be able to play it in like a facilitated group, like intentionally. The group, I suggest that you have a group that has been playing for a little bit, whether it be any other system, as long as there's enough trust between the players and the facilitator to be able to do something like this.
So I run spiritual discovery Dungeons and Dragons groups with adults, and I've also run camps and clubs using D&D for adolescents. And one reason to use D&D is because everybody knows the game. And when you advertise, people
I've seen it on Big Bang Theory.
Right. If you advertise, powered by the apocalypse, people might be intrigued, but they don't know what it is. So that's one benefit of using D&D. But I also, especially in the spiritual discovery groups, I was dropping mechanics left and right and not rolling dice and playing it more like a story game, more like a belonging outside belonging game. So
it can get, it's not a crunchy system. Crunchy meaning rules heavy.
It's crunchier than belonging outside belonging games.
Anytime you start rolling dice, but it's like you can lose people real fast when they're like, now what do I need for my THACO?
So I'm looking to move towards like kids on brooms and such for my kids camps, because they'll still get attracted to it. Oh, you're playing in a magic school. They know what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
If you're playing with really young kids, why can't I think of it? There's
No
Thank You Evil. Yeah. Which is, I mean, couldn't be simpler. And yet I would say the storytelling that I've engaged with my friend and his 8-year-old daughter and his, brother that's of our age has been more enjoyable and more engaging and more creative along the lines that we've done here than in stuff that I've done with D&D.
Yeah.
And a 10-year-old could do it. 8-year-old too.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're interesting games, and there's so many options. I think Laura mentioned something like for belonging outside belonging games, like people have been doing a lot of really cool stuff in the design space with belonging outside
Yeah.
belonging games. Like, I mean, we played two different versions of it.
The amount of belonging outside belonging games I own.
Why is that, Kayla?
It's all because of you.
I
It's all your fault.
take no responsibility what happens when you go on itch late at night, okay? itch.io. But yeah, there's tons of them, and the thing that's really interesting to me is, and I want to hit on this before we're kind of getting close on time here for tonight. But the thing I want to hit on is belonging outside belonging in the title of the game, right?
Yeah.
The original development of this game is finding a place to belong, right? Developed by queer and Jewish designers, um, looking, building mechanics in a game, to have it that other people can use it and hack it and develop the rule systems and develop their own. And I'm really amazed. Like every time like a new belonging outside belonging game comes out, I'm like, oh, that's you guys mentioned a few, different rule sets and different ways to play it. The core is still the same, but to me it's very much about and thinking about some of the characters that I played in this, about kind of just finding who you are in some ways. The game somehow always allows for that self
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's all about
discovery in some ways.
it's all about identity and who
Yeah.
you are.
And I don't know how. I don't know if that's just me playing characters, but I feel like every time I play a belonging outside belonging character or game, I find myself asking like, what does this character like really want? Like, who is this character?
Yeah.
I do find like not the mechanics, but the character creation in itself creates opportunity
It's
for self-exploration
Yeah.
and discovery.
Yeah.
And it creates opportunity for you to tell a story about maybe who you want to be or you want to experiment to be, or uh, any number of things that have to do with identity. And I think it's a very enriching experience, not just for people who are queer, but for anyone. I think it's a great experience to try playing a belonging outside belonging game. Don't be afraid to play something outside of your comfort zone. Just try it. As long as you're with people who you trust, uh, I say go for it.
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Really cool games for sure. And while it may take sometimes have as we talked about, some of the right things going for it for a group to be able to play it, in an applied manner. Yeah, just the way that the game, and the mechanics, you can make characters in 10 or 15 minutes, but like you keep exploring those characters as you play. And I think that's really cool.
Avery
Menachem,
writes
you have
about
something there.
Avery writes about creating new games in here. There's so much good information about how to run games and design games in this book. It's a great read.
I would recommend buying that book. Everyone, I'm not gonna put it up again just so everyone can see it.
Dream Askew, Dream Apart.
I mean, anything.
Buriedwithoutceremony.com.
I mean,
You can find it on
anything
Avery's website.
most of those belonging outside belongings creators make is like,
Yeah.
they're.
But she
gold.
defines what it means to be a belonging outside belonging game. It says
Yeah,
start
thank
with
you.
start with a marginalized group who've gathered together to build community.
Mhm.
That community stands in sharp relief to a larger looming dominant culture. That's just the first two sentences. It goes on more. If it doesn't have those kind of qualities, so it allows for that kind of, I feel like an outsider in my life. How can I feel like I have a place to belong?
The funny thing about it, there's a lot of parallels in that, with even within our work, right? Where we're kind of like the outcasts using games
Yeah.
in a way where like people don't think you probably should. And
Right.
I completely
Or don't
disagree with all
understand,
that.
right?
But yeah, or don't understand. And
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of crossover in our intentional play with it and our intentional use with it.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Menachem, for adding. I knew I had like read that what Avery talked about, like what a belonging outside belonging game is. So yeah, I think that's where I was trying to get with that. So we're kind of closing out on our stream here tonight. Few things I wanted to make sure that we did before we finish up tonight. First of all, thanks everyone.
Yes.
I almost feel like I'm moderating a panel here or something. But no, thanks for sharing and again allowing yourself to be vulnerable in some moments here, talking about our games, talking about the uses of them. I think it's such a valuable conversation. I look forward to continuing to have these conversations as we play new games, play new characters, and talk about them. This is really one of our kind of core mission directives, if you will, of the stream and of the YouTube channel, is to be able to share with you all like what we're doing and why it's important to us. And we hope you enjoy some of these characters as much as we do, and looking at how to use them. If you're interested in doing more, if you're a therapist or somebody who's looking to use games in your work, tabletop role-playing games, definitely check out some of the trainings out there.
We have a
and
Discord.
we have a Discord, so feel free to DM any of us as well. But you know, just to get like a base knowledge, there's some great trainings out there. I won't go too much into it here, but you know, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to share any links and resources with you as well. And a lot of times we talk about them in our announcements and stuff like that as well. So I want to make a couple announcements as far as next games coming up. Very exciting. If I had a drum roll, I would ask for one here. But we're going to be starting next week, Friday the 10th. Actually, Tim and I won't be here for that. Unfortunately, for the start of the next game, we will be starting.
I actually won't be here for the next 2 games.
You won't?
Yeah.
Oh no! You
Oh
didn't
my
tell me
God.
that.
What am I going to do without Calvin?
I don't know.
But first, starting Friday the 10th,
Yep.
9 actually usually 9:30, somewhere between 9:30 and 10 Eastern time, on Twitch, we will be playing Wander Home by J Dragon.
Very excited about this
Oh,
one.
Wow. But
guys
Akko
have
just
the
has
special
it
You guys have
cover,
ready.
the
actual
hardcover.
physical copies?
Yes, there
I'm
is.
jealous. Okay.
Oh, Monaco just has it ready. They're just rubbing it in our faces.
Monaco
I'm rubbing it. I'm doing
has
promotional.
excited.
Promotional.
yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm just playing.
I need one.
Sparkles.
The
You
art in this
sparkle.
book, the art in the book is fantastic. So this is a pastoral fantasy belonging outside belonging game. So we'll be delving into another belonging outside belonging games. We've talked a lot about it. So you know, things like Redwall, kind of that. We're gonna play wandering creatures, and
Animals.
I think animals, yeah. Everyone's pretty much got theirs figured out. I have no idea what I'm doing yet in Wander Home, so I got to get to work on that. And then our second game that we'll be playing, starting the September 17th, same time, same Twitch channel, will be Kids on Brooms.
Kids on Brooms.
Menachem's got them over there also. I brought mine to share
Yeah,
with
And
everyone.
we're going to Yale. I'm so
Going to
excited.
Yale.
We've dubbed it in the back chat as Yale Capades.
That's right.
This game's kind of interesting because we're picking up some characters that we have already played again. About a year ago now, we did a kind of Halloween one shot of this.
One shot.
One shot.
It was not a
We-
one
we
shot,
kept it
but
pretty
yeah.
cheap. It
5 or
was-
6 sessions.
It's a one shot.
That's actually better than our other games.
And we should add that I get to play both games now.
You do get to join us. Yep.
Yes, Scott will be
So,
joining us.
yeah, Scott's going to be joining us every week as well. So if you're interested in looking at the secret societies in Yale and what that may look like as far as magic casters, I've got some fun stuff I'm working on planning for that. I will be GMing that game for everyone starting
Yes.
on the 17th, and I'm very excited. And Kayla, I hear that you've gotten even more excited as you've picked up a copy of a book I recommended.
I just picked it up.
Oh
too.
yes,
You
I
did?
know. No,
Okay.
it's so good. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. We will be playing Wanderhome and Kids on Brooms through to the holidays, and then after that, these will be our last games all together because we're going to be changing our structure a little bit on stream. But
Yeah,
that's
last
okay.
games altogether, but
Not all
last
together.
games in the
Yes.
current structure.
Yes, at the current
Yeah.
structure. You're right.
I do
Yeah,
hear.
so we're looking at making some changes to try and make it flow a little more,
Yeah.
make it more informative and more helpful for everybody. So
I heard a rumor George Bush might be part of the faculty or staff at Yale.
I
Can
really
you
hope so.
confirm that? I don't know.
Can we confirm anything about Kids on Brooms? Are there any guest appearances?
I'm
I
not. I
don't
can't
think
confirm.
so
I can't
yet.
confirm or
Liberty to
deny
say.
that I
There's
know
no
anything.
confirming or denying anything.
I am wondering
Unless
if,
you have a
if there's
HIPAA
gonna be
Unless you
any
have
characters
a release
trying
of
to take
information
blood.
so that I can disclose anything to you. I mean, it's much like a secret society. I can't really
Yeah,
tell you
we don't
unless
get to
you're
know.
BA.
part of the
I don't
network.
know. I'll Facebook I'll Facebook message for it now.
So
You'll have to wait and see. We're very excited about it.
yeah, we're excited. I'm
Mm.
super stoked
Also
about
very excited about Wanderhome.
the Kids
Yeah,
on Brooms
same.
game. So
Gonna be fun.
all right, so that's what we're going to be doing next. We look to have you come along with us on
Yeah.
our next journeys and some character creation and everything that we're doing there. As we kind of close out today, we have a little bit of different kind of opening and closing ritual than we normally do with our play. But this is a great moment to kind of finalize, as we talked about and discuss some of these characters that we've been playing. So I'm just going to ask everyone as we kind of sign off tonight to identify one thing you'll miss from each of your characters and one thing you learn from your characters before we let them go and finish up with them. So anyone want to start with that?
Sure, I'll start. Identify one thing I missed from each of my characters and one thing I learned from my characters before letting them go. I would say for Crow, to I think what I'll miss from him is at the end just being able to just be themselves, right? And just let go of all the things that they hold on to. One thing I learned from a character, um, that weird little space freak. He there was more to that weird little space freak than what I think everyone expected, and being able to play the character as a comedic relief through most of it, and then being able to play it as very serious at the end and intentional at the end. And in the very last like game, I think I'll miss that about it.
All right, you want to toss it over to someone else?
I'll toss it over to Neil.
All right. So the things that I'll miss about Enid is really just the enjoyment of being someone in the background, someone not in the foreground. I think I've managed to really like kind of grasp on that a little bit more than how I normally would without playing Enid. With Zuri, the enjoyment of caretaking, for sure. I think I'm gonna miss that, being able to cook and bake for all of her friends. I actually have not done that much, so maybe I should try that.
You could do it in real life for all of us if you want.
I accept care
Maybe I
packages.
could. Yes. When we finally meet in person one of these days. All of us.
sleepaway sleepover.
That's happening. Yeah, it'll happen.
It's
Are
gonna
gonna
happen.
come. Are
at
gonna
some
meet
point.
in Chicago.
We'll have to figure out how to stream that. I don't really know what that'll look like, but
And I do have a full suite of baking supplies and necessary
Scott.
equipment.
Should
Two-
cook for us.
Oh,
two
my
chefs.
goodness,
I mean,
yeah.
Scott and Tim both can cook for us.
Yes, Scott and Tim, and I can learn from them both. That would be fantastic. That'd be a lot of fun. What I've learned from Enid is power of observation. And what I've learned from Zuri is power of friendship.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that was it, right?
You have to
Okay.
kick it to somebody.
And I
Popcorn.
will kick it to Kayla.
Okay. Identify one thing you'll miss from each of your characters. I think I will miss Draxus got way less willing to like sacrifice their own safety. And I'll miss that because as humans we don't always do that. I often find myself helping in situations and it doesn't always go the way you think it will. So I've also kind of learned that from Draxus as well. What will I miss from Lucian? Well, Lucian was an incredibly difficult character to play. But I think I will miss their motorcycle.
Ooh.
Don't worry, I've got it.
I know.
And they got the jacket too.
And one thing I learned from Lucian, I didn't really touch on it earlier because I was still thinking about it, but I think Lucian very well have, in my own personal journey, Lucian's inability to have fully formed themselves and learned how to like set boundaries, I think really reinforced kind of what happened to them. And I think it just reinforces for me that, I'm really glad I learned to set boundaries because that really kind of allowed me to differentiate myself from a lot of different people and all throughout my life. So I think it just not necessarily learned something new, but just reinforced that boundaries equal just an ability to differentiate and an ability to find your own identity.
Nice.
Menachem, since I broke your heart.
I well, lots of things, I guess, but yeah, I live for character, personality, and quirks and character development, and I really dislike ending an arc artificially, right? With a set number of sessions, it's going to be over. So I'm going to miss. I mean, like Carl just came into himself.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna miss being able to play that out. So I don't know if Tim decides to run Suede again, but so I'm gonna miss playing that arc out. And I mean, Chloe's 6,000 years old, so lots of life. But I don't know what the depth of Chloe was for me yet. Well, sort of do it, which I'll get to in a second. But I'm gonna miss playing these guys out. What I learned from my characters, I mean, Carl was this fucking manifest, man. Stop holding yourself back, which is funny because a lot of people think I don't hold myself back, but in lots of ways, it's just like whatever. Lots of downtime and not doing a lot of things and whatever, giving and just manifest, go for it. And Chloe, it's something about friendship. Again, I hadn't figured out my own difficulties and challenges of friendships over the years and my own wishes about connection to people. And I'm still just kind of feeling that pain of the betrayal and the death, betrayal of Nurad and the death of Lucian and that loss of connection that I crave. I lost track of who's gone. I don't think Scott's gone.
It's
Well, I
just
only
Scott
have
or
one
Dustin.
to do.
I know.
Man, I don't know. What will I miss most? I hate to say it. I feel a sense of relief getting to let go of this character. I will miss the storytelling opportunity that came with the game. I have a Star Wars tattoo on my arm. My office, my therapy office is decorated in Star Wars. My home has Star Wars stuff. I mean, like, I love Star Wars. I'm wearing my geek shirt, but it's prominently features Star Wars. So even though it's off-brand Star Wars, that makes me sad.
I love that killing off your character was like this therapeutic processing, powerful moment for you. I love that. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, thanks. I got some work done. What was the other part of the question I'm supposed to answer? I'm sorry.
When you learned.
Yeah.
What I learned. So yeah, what I learned is that I was holding this stuff real close, real close. That I was over identifying with the kids with whom I was working, and that I was taking it home in this way. And so it's actually making me more thoughtful about the characters that I want to play in games moving forward. Giving myself permission to be the adult in the room at work and in play. To Neil.
I already went.
I think it's just Dustin.
It's
Oh,
Dustin.
well,
Okay, then we're done.
No,
No, it's Dustin's turn.
actually, it's Laura's turn. So I'm going to share for Laura first, and then I'll share
Okay.
for myself.
Sounds good.
Laura says, I'll miss Nuxo's bandolier of blasters. And Callie's growth into figuring out who she is. And then from Nuxo, Laura said she learned it's okay to do your own thing. And from Callie, learned that it's okay to take your time and maybe be oblivious for a bit. It keeps life interesting. So thank you, Laura. And can't be here, but thanks for sharing some of your thoughts with us on that.
Thank you,
For
Laura.
myself, what was one thing I'll miss from each of my characters? From Rahuko, I think, I don't know. I really like that character for myself. I'm gonna miss a lot about that character.
I think a lot of us miss that character.
I don't know how I did. I wasn't in like, yeah. I
Zuri named her bake shop Rahuko.
What will I miss? I'll miss his gentleness and just being like, nah, I'll take care of you. You know, one way or another, I'm gonna take care of you. He did a lot of things, I'm realizing, to like take care of people as I'm thinking about it. What will I miss from Alex? His car, his very expensive car, maybe, that I never have had a chance to own. No, I'll miss Alex's, I guess, his popularity. Well, like his devoted friends. Let me put it that way. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna miss the most. Kind of going off of what Menachem was saying as well, like that whole thing with like friendship and making friends. His core group, right? His like posse.
I mean, they were devoted to him just as much as he was devoted to them.
Yeah, I think that like knowing that you
Absolutely.
have these people that are got your back no matter what. I'm gonna miss that.
And it started out looking like it could have been a shallow, popular thing, but it turned out not to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we faced demons together. You guys faced demons together.
Yeah. I mean, well, Mac Attack didn't, but
Mac was like,
he faced his own demons.
he was just taking pictures.
And what do I learn from my characters? From Alex, I learned that it's harder to be the popular person than I thought. Maybe, I don't know if that's right. but I learned that that's well, I guess I learned that that's not, even though in high school at times maybe I thought that's who I wanted to be. I don't think that's who I want to be at all. Getting to play that character, having such a hard time trying to figure out, how to play it exactly. It's not me, and I learned that, and that's okay. I'm okay
Yeah.
with who I am today. What I learned from Rahuko, I learned a lot from that character. I think I learned to just figure out, however things are going to be is okay. Kind of, that, it's going to work out. And then someone will blow you up. There's like a lot of spiritual things, and I think the real take home message for me is like, be quiet, be still, like practice more mindfulness and connect with the force, if you will, connect with that spirit that's out there, whatever that is. So that's really the thing that I think I learned from Rahuko. So
Very good.
so that's it.
That's it.
That's our kind of recap of our two games there.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody.
Thanks for being here.
If
This
you
is
want,
great. This was great. I feel like we could have talked about each of our characters
Probably.
like for hours and hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was great.
If you're interested in seeing some of these meaningful moments that we created, you're welcome to watch the full streams on YouTube, as all of our videos are also streamed to YouTube and stored on YouTube. However, if you want to stick to Twitch, you can find the bathtub moment is a highlight. All of our checkout questions and checkout debriefs for every episode we did is also up on Twitch. And then I think I also polled the Rahuko and Roz moment as well. So if you want to see some of our more meaningful, impactful moments, you can find them on Twitch, or you can watch the full streams of those episodes. There's also some really funny moments as well.
You can
that
watch
I
the steamy
saved.
moment.
You can, the steamy
Hilarious.
moments.
Sweaty
Yes,
moment.
yeah, the sweaty
Sweaty
moment is
moments.
there. Yep. There's a couple funny Star Wars moments too, I think. So Yoda,
Yes.
if you want to
Yoda
catch
moment.
Yoda,
I was gonna
the
say, didn't
Yoda
we get
moment,
Yoda up
we
there
did
also?
get Yoda. So
My voice acting is not without its merits. How,
So-
how do I
Very
get to
true.
those?
you got to go to our
I want to
regular.
watch them now.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you on stream.
So we'll talk about it later.
Go to
Go to
our
our
Twitch,
channel and
go to
search
our
the
Twitch
videos.
page. Search for CAST, CASTT, CAST with two
Underscore.
Ts.
Gamers. They are organized by games. So Teenage Nightmare will be under Teenage Nightmare, and Galactic 2E will be under Galactic 2E. And if you're feeling spicy, Gaze of Our Lives is under Gaze of Our Lives.
I was going to put the link in the chat, but they're already there.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're already on Twitch.
All right.
All right.
All
We
right,
did good,
yes.
y'all.
Let's
Yes.
wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for either checking this out later on the YouTube, and those of you that stuck around with us streaming.
Yeah.
And thanks to all of you lovely friends I have right here in front of me.
Awesome.
Aw.
I'm
Even
in.
though I can't
Thank
hug you
you.
in person, I'm glad to have you all as players in my games, and I look forward to our next characters and what we're gonna do next. It's gonna be a
And
lot of fun.
Dustin.
Yes.
Do, 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 do.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go home.
Do, 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 do. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Can
Wow,
we make that a
everyone.
clip?
Good night. Yes, we can. Yeah, I'll pull
Clip
it.
it. Clip
All right.
it.
That's
Good,
all. I
good
got
night.
nothing else.
Good
Oh,
night.
God.
That's it. That's the stream. That's the stream, everyone. Good night. I think this is our thing now.
Oh yeah.
This is applause.
It's a-
Applause in
Yeah.
sign language.
It's so good. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Dustin is.